back on the Marching to Madness College Basketball Podcast with Southeast Missouri Redhawks head coach Brad Korn. He joins Marching to Madness for the first time. The Redhawks win the Ohio Valley Championship 89-82 over Tennessee Tech in overtime. It pushes the Redhawks into the NCAA tournament. Coach, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, this is your third season at Southeast Missouri, and you ran the gauntlet there. I think kind of winning 4 games, and very impressive. How did your team change the focus and approach for 4 nights in a row to win its first Ohio Valley Conference title in quite a while?
Yeah, you know what? Our guys had a calmness and a demeanor about them once we arrived in Evansville. We didn't close the regular season very well. We lost at Lindenwood, then we got kicked by Edwardsville. So never want to go into March and tournament style a loser or on a losing streak. And we had traditionally been playing our best basketball at the end the 3 years that we've been here, and we just weren't at that time. For whatever factors, whatever reasons. So, but once we got to Evansville, our guys seemed to have a focus and a determination and a very steely calmness about them. And they knew what was at stake. The potential was always there. We dealt with a lot of injury and a lot of illness this year. And we've had, I want to say that maybe we had 2 practices with our full roster the whole year. So I think it just kind of came down to the just understanding what was at stake. And, we always knew that the talent and this potential in this team was there. And so for them to put it together in 4 games in 4 days like that was pretty remarkable.
Coach, how has the campus and then the town of Cape Girardeau reached out to you and your players and your staff upon being able to display, a championship trophy? As I see, it's your first NCAA berth there since 2000.
Yeah, when we got back Sunday from Evansville, there was a little welcome back gathering, band, cheerleaders, community members, welcoming us back, and it just was again. A lot of people around here have been wanting this. They've seen it done before, as you mentioned, in 2000. They saw it before with Coach Shoemate, in the early late 80s, early 90s during that time frame. So I think of bringing a lot of those people back. And there's been a lot of outpouring, there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about it. And hopefully everybody comes and shows up on Sunday. We're going to open up the doors to the Show Me Center, invite the whole community in, find out when we find out where we're going, who we're playing. And hopefully it's just one of those, you always need those tipping points. You always need those one things to kind of get you over the hump. And hopefully this is the one thing that gets us over the hump and gets the community back super involved. We had a pretty good turnout all season long, as far as crowds in the Show Me Center and creating a home court advantage. But hopefully this kind of pours some gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, hope so. Hope so for you. Phillip Russell is the second leading scorer in Ohio Valley Conference at 18.2 points per game. He came up strong in the clutch as he led a 7-0 Southeast Missouri run to win the game there in overtime.
Yeah, he really made some big free throws late. He was in foul trouble in the championship game. Chris Harris put us on his back, really for 3 games up to that point, the quarters, semis, and the championship. And then Phil, they're just such a good combination, yin and yang, closer combination. We have dynamic guard play. Israel Barnes really stepped up and played both sides of the ball for us. So again, each guy's got to take a step and take a turn. Phil's been our guy all season long. He's a tremendous talent, a lot of things that he can do with the basketball. He can defend his position. He can create his own shot. He can create for others. He can make threes. There's just not a whole lot he can't do. He's fast. He's super competitive. So not a lot he can't do. And then other guys step up when he was in foul trouble or wasn't quite himself in moments. And that's what you have to have. If you're going to win a championship, if you're going to continue to play in March, everybody's got to step up. But obviously Chris Harris and Phil Russell are lead the way.
Chris Harris was a solid rebounder. How did he fit with Russell as both became such a well-oiled backcourt?
Yeah, again, Chris is another one of those guys. He has a really great knack for scoring. He has very, very good vision in the half court. He makes good decisions off of ball screens. Really in the conference tournament, we found a little something that was working for him specifically. And he was able to get on the interior. He was able to get to the foul line. Chris is kind of a throwback from the standpoint is he's got to lead the country in getting fouled on 3-point shots, and he got fouled on that 3-point shot late in the game. In gosh, can't remember regulation. I believe it was. Yeah, it had to have been regulation because he's kind of a throwback. He's a true old school jump shooter. He kind of jumps forward when he shoots, so he's kind of got a little bit of throwback game. I call him a half court point guard because once we get in the half court, he sees things and he can play make and get his own shot. He's got a beautiful, beautiful shot. His technical side of his form is almost perfect. So anytime him and Phil are going again, because they both can create their own, but they also can get others involved. It's a deadly combination.
Israel Barnes scored more of his baskets from the inside the arc. How does he proliferate that kind of an attack?
You know, he scored a ton of points at his previous school, Newman University. Averaged, I think it was 18 a game. So he's been able to score the basketball. And so now finding yourself into a new role with Phil, with Chris, you know, all of your shot attempts aren't going to be there, or you're not going to have as much volume as you had before. So he's a very good athlete. He's got a great first step, strong, rangy athlete. So for him, he didn't shoot it particularly well from three, didn't shoot it particularly well from the foul line, but he made 2 huge threes for us in that championship game. And there's no way, really, from the defensive side, there's no way that we win the championship without him.
Yeah. Stellar Ohio Valley Conference with an offensive acumen is how I would define Ohio Valley basketball this season. You guys averaged 77.7 points. You gave up 76 per game. With these numbers, how tough was it to work on a game plan where you could have, you know, the liberty and the forward push to be able to score?
That's what we've really done. That's kind of our style of play. A little bit of it, I'll be honest, started in the COVID year when we first got here because we obviously inherited the roster that we inherited. It was COVID. We couldn't go out and recruit. So we were recruiting like this, recruiting off film. And so when we got the roster and saw what it was in September, you know, we didn't get to work with the team until September. And the staff, we just put together what was going to work best for that particular roster. It started to work. We were winning games. And then in the last 2 years, we've been 1 or 2 in the league in scoring. And so really the focus is playing in space. And again, when you have dynamic guard play like Chris Harris and Phil Russell that we talked about, you got to play to your strengths. That's our strength. And so to have the floor opened up, you know, we led the league in free throw attempts 1 year. We led the league in scoring this year. We led the league in threes made last year. And so we want to create pace and we want to create tempo because, again, I think that's one of the hardest things to scout is a team that can really push in transition because there is no play for transition defense. That's something you just have to be very good at. And a lot of teams aren't late into the season. So I think it gets an advantage.
Josh Early wasn't a starter, but he's really steady off the bench. Talk about his overall ability and how you generally use him on both ends of the floor.
Josh is the kid that we just, you know, the coaches are probably on him more than anybody because we see the potential that he has, you know, just to have that kind of body and athleticism and touch around the rim. You don't see that a lot in the OVC. And the ones that you do see are hard people to deal with. And so Josh has a lot of potential, and he came to us from not having played a lot in his previous school in the previous year. And so for him, it's the most basketball he's played. He dealt with some injuries early in the season, but man, when he comes and plays like he did against TSU, double, and just, I mean, he can really be a force for us. He's very athletic, he's strong, but he's got great touch. And we just always want more for Josh because we can see the potential that he has. And he's really started to play his best basketball in the last month of the season, much like Quan Smart.
Last thing, Coach, as you guys finished tied for third, rather, in the OVC, discuss how your team used it. It's the 7th adjusted tempo, according to KenPom.com, in the nation.
Yeah, again, it's what. So we don't have like a necessarily like a true post like a Zach Edey that Purdue has, and so now we're not going to play a slowed down, throw it inside type of. That's just not who we are. It's just not our style. Sure. And so again, it just goes into having a system in place that's adaptable. That's the parts can be interchangeable somewhat because we did have 10 new guys on the roster. Something that's somewhat simple and easy to teach, but also allows freedom and space and allows your best players to shine in the system. And that's kind of what we've created. But the main thing that we've tried to hammer home is lead the league in free throw attempts, lead the league in assists, and not just shoot threes, but get paint touch threes and one more pass threes. And if we do those things, then the talent all gets to shine through. And so, again, is it a perfect sign? I don't know if that is a perfect sign, but it is one that works well for us. It works well in recruiting, and again, it makes it a hard cover, especially late in February, early March basketball. Teams that can push the basketball and still force pace and tempo. I think that's also the reason why our defensive numbers are down, because we do create a lot more possessions. And so those numbers are going to be somewhat inflated on the defensive side. It may not necessarily mean that we're that bad defensively, just we create a lot more possessions. And so as long as we're being efficient, it's a pretty good system that works for us.
Coach Brad Korn, ladies and gentlemen, the Southeast Missouri Redhawks, totally a team you want to watch play for what we're talking about and what Coach has told us. It's one of the most exciting brands of basketball in college basketball, with 363 Division I teams. Coach, it's a pleasure. I appreciate it, and I hope we can do this again sometime.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.